Hello my friends and welcome to my channel. Yes, this is Kate in the Nest and I'm back and surprising you, I hope, with another video. It's really dark outside and I have to say this is probably the latest video I've done in a long time. But I was going to stitch anyway, and here's my sewing basket that has now lost its lid. I adore this one so much. It hasn't lost its lid. It's just that, see those flowers for you? It was straining. So for the moment it's going lidless, but I still have these tiny little things to reattach it. So what's in my sewing basket and what's in yours? Hey, is that the name of a good segment? I used to love watching, at the beginning of my YouTube journey, I used to love watching what's in my bag, but that was from fashionistas with designer goods. So what's in my sewing basket today is these spools that I've wound. I think I showed you them yesterday. Absolutely adore. So much so that I did get more today, and you're going to gradually see my threads transform into probably a much happier place for them, onto these wooden, see, it's, I can't do plastic, scissors. There's some fleur orange wool that can go onto one of the spools I bought today. Little tiny baby nest. So what am I going to do? I'm going to stitch anyway. Have I said that already? Maybe it's been a big day, so we're just going to have a chat together. I hope you are well. Whatever you've been up to will be so different to what I've been up to. In fact, I don't know if people could ever guess the adventures I've had today. But I'm home now and safely in my nest with my happy things and wishing you happiness. So let's do as Fleur. I've been influenced by Fleur with her Kiwi accent and way of language. They often say, instead of little, they go wee. So as Fleur would say, let's do a wee bit of stitching on a Sunday night. I'm going to be doing it anyway. Thank you for your lovely comments. Thank you for your care. Some people say thank you so much for taking the time. I'm stitching anyway, and my approach is, if you're happy to watch me unplanned and as it goes, we belong together. So thanks for being here with me. Okay, this one I maybe sort of showed you a little glimpse. It's the final one so far in my flowers in vases. What's different about it? I'm using a different background print, steel block print. I'm using basically the one big floral, which happens to be from my dear friend Gabriella, who has the clothing and stitching business called Miss Rose Sister Violet. Now, I've been talking about Gabriella since I last met her. I first met her last year at the Australian Quilt Show, and we've got some exciting plans coming up. So again, get you that name down for this week's newsletter, because I just feel so many magical things are happening at the moment that I can share with you. So that's her fabric up there. Look at that. Vases in Flowers is done for you. Here's my brocade vase, and on top of it I've got these two random very modern flowers that just needed to live there. So let's get threaded. I did a tiny bit of this morning and then headed away for the day. I've been to Canberra, and I'll tell you stories about, it was sort of like a reward day, accidental reward, and ended up being beyond my wildest dreams reward day. But more to come about that. My husband was down the coast playing he's a very good golfer. He was playing I don't know how it's all called, but he was playing Penance, which is some sort of A grade competition, and he won his match. So by the time we both came home, might have been 5:30, he'd set a fire. So in our home, I don't know whether I've told you this before, we don't have an inside fire like many of the Highlands houses do, but we have an outside real fire, and it gives that feeling of being outside camping. Comfy chairs, and we did have a fire pit in addition, but we just found that we were using this all the time. So it's a beautiful thing to sit outside, literally only meters from the kitchen and the safety of home, but feel like you're camping. He brings out all his skills as a fire maker, because I don't have many, mainly because I haven't ever tried in this context. And we watch him, you know, it's like Survivor. If you've ever watched that show, we often joke about that. You know, we need a fire. And it's a bit tough at the moment because the kindling's wet, the newspaper is wet. I don't know about you. We used to always have newspaper in the house, but it's rare now that we buy a newspaper, which is sort of sad. Sorry, here's my jingles. I've got my my upcycled shirt here, and what's that mark on it? I adore. I love wearing things that I've adorned. So this is me back, and the fact that we can wear our stitching as we go. So I've just threaded some fluorescent wool, and we're going to colour in some flowers. And I'm going to pause long enough to make you feel that I'm not completely raving on. I think it's because I had the whole day. Oh, I met a beautiful friend, very special friend, for coffee in Canberra. Had a big catch up, and then after that I was alone shopping, and usually I do that with my gorgeous Green Door 4, and most recently we had Fleur with us as well. So that's a shared shopping experience, but today it was me by myself, and I found treasure upon treasure upon treasure. I'm in shock. I've had my husband feeling textiles. I wouldn't let him not. So I'm saying linen. No, they're not even linen. Like the softest vintage handkerchiefs with crocheted corners. The softest and the most beautiful that I've probably ever come across in the wild. Let's call it that, the wild. Yes, just I've had to say to my husband that the days of me finding those sorts of things and the range that I found today in thrift stores or op shops is gone. And girls, you probably are finding that yourself, but maybe you're in the country where that hasn't happened. But in my local area, I'm not even going to. Well, I still do because I love to support, but I don't ever presume that I'm going to find a doily, let alone a tablecloth, let alone something beautifully hand-stitched by those hands that came before me. And I'm not, I actually think that's an evolution. And I'm hoping that those of us who are here have been part of the generation that stopped them going to landfill and have them waiting. And even if they're still in our cupboards, that's okay. They're just not buried in the ground and lost forever. I had a chat to my mum on the way home. She who now will be known as Yvonne Betty. If you've been with me for a while, you saw the Betty quilt and you know how gorgeously talented my mum is, and also so fiercely independent that at 94 she has instructed the family that she is not to be called Betty anymore. So again, I'm sorry if I'm repeating, but I'm not actually, because it's the most beautiful thing that makes me smile. At this age, she has said, I want to be known as Yvonne, which is my first name, and Betty will be forever my second name. So I have the Betty quilt here, and suffice to say, I need to I need to make an Yvonne quilt. But I'm actually thinking Yvonne might want something different than a quilt. So stay tuned for that. And I am in the process of making some pouches that will be available at some time. That will be, making me a little bit heartfelt. I was going to say they were going to be Kate in the Nest and Yvonne Betty, but in a way I think they should be Yvonne Betty first, because she has sewed them with her arthritic hands with joy at 94 so that I can share them with you. So anyway, we chatted in the car on the way back, and I told her about my day, and she was thrilled because I could share with her all the things that I had found. Okay, so I've just done some little woolly pink bits up there. This is unopened Fleur Orange. I've got this fluoro down here. Let's see if I've got some already opened. See, now yes, I have. Now I'm actually really excited to start putting wool on my wooden spools. You might have been doing that for ages, but when you sort of find what's right for you. And yes, I did try those little tiny paper and plastic things, but to help me not be so messy. But now these are a thing of beauty. So if you've got them, tell me if you use them to actually hold threads or whether they're for snippet rolls, because like my sewing basket, it's like I've tried everything that I've heard on YouTube's about alternative ways to use them. And now my sewing basket is actually a sewing basket, and these wooden spools actually hold thread. So is that just me, or is that you and I just hadn't heard about it? Oops. I'm hoping that this video doesn't take hours and hours to load, and that you gorgeous Aussies and Kiwis might get to see this tonight, because we do know that depending on when we load it, it can take a long time or a short time. And Sunday night in Australia, and I don't know where you are in the world, but it's peak. It seems to be peak streaming internet time, and it takes way longer than it should. But I like Aussies because I like doing it myself as we go to sleep, as we go to bed and have our final stitch on a Sunday night before contemplating in our heads that it's Monday tomorrow and all that brings, whether it's work, being in an office, all the things that we do, or washing day, bill day, who knows. But that Sunday is like that. Sunday night in particular is that very special sweet spot. Okay, so look at the beauty of fleur wool, as I call it. Silk, merino and silk. And Fleur tells me it's sent, the wool is sent from New Zealand to India to get its silk in it. So how special is that? Okay, there's no more orange up there, but I'm going to make it up. We join this little orange bit up there to that flower. So thread painting with wool in this corner. And sooner or later I'll make a decision about those green leaves. I actually think this one might keep the leaves, which is different to all my other ones. And if we play one of my favourite games, which I'm sure I've told you about, the only time I go backwards is to go play the game, which is really a reflection with fun, is what were you doing this time last week? So there we go. What are you doing now? And at this moment last week, where were you? Were you in the same place? Did you have the same plans ahead of you? Or has something changed? So if I do that for me, and I have to because you're not here to start the conversation now, but I am hoping that you're thinking that. This time last week was the eve before Textiles and Treasures with Fleur. So I had been out to the studio. We put our piles of goodiness together, and it was a feeling of anticipation and excitement and not quite sure what would happen. And now, a week through, and Fleur has as well, we've been able to share photos on Instagram. I'm going to share some in my newsletter. So if you're not on social media, I totally get that, totally understand. But the Facebook group and the newsletter is, and I hate sounding like an ad, it's not an ad for me, it's a chance for you to get together. So if you're on my newsletter, you'll see the photos of other people's work. That's what I really love sharing each time I do a workshop. There'll be some shots of Fleur, I imagine, and Fleur's work that you won't have seen in the context of what we were doing and showing. And yeah, I'm excited because I get to prepare this week's newsletter, well, this month, which is June, without having to rush off and squeeze it in between other things that I do. So it's got priority. Okay, my husband said he really liked that fluoro yellow there, and was I going to do more? So the answer is yes, but that is not DMC. It's not that one. So glad I found that. Hello, Christy Sobits. Hello, Michelle, my belle, my Perth friends. I think of you, especially when I go delving in here, because Christy found me these fluoros, and they're hard to find over here. Which is the actual one that I used? It's not that. It's not that. Certainly not that. Can you see it? Aha. I think it's that. I think Christy actually may have said she got these from Temu. I don't know. I don't shop on Temu. Well, except my mum wanted me to buy some zippers off there. My iPhone memory did stop. I better check it. Oh, we're still going. Before. All right, let's leave that one like that, and let's do this one counterintuitively in a different direction. So let's come up there. So my intention is not to go around the entire rim of this flower. I like the lack of symmetry. And I was just thinking about, when I played that game this time last week, I've also equally done it all the time with my children and my husband about this time next week, because it's a way of being hopeful and optimistic. So, and it's not always like things that we look forward to, but especially if we've got something hard and challenging coming up in the week ahead, we will go, well, this time next week that will all be done and will be behind us. So again, how do you approach things like that? Do you do what we do? I doubt that we are the only people. Okay, look at this. So a bit of orange fluoro there, and orange fluoro here. There we go. Nothing more peaceful or meditative. No hurry. Just up and down with that needle. I was thinking of finishing up here, but that is halves, and you know me, I like the thirds and the 2/3. So let's go around a little bit more. There we go. So I've sort of echoed it there. I hope you're enjoying the colours, even though if you're not a fluoro or bright person. I just look at a garden like this and know that all gardens for all time have brought joy. So it could be the shape of the flower rather than the colour, but as I lay my hand on there, I just feel the joy. I haven't started this rose. I've got those little bobbly. I like that gold in there. I'm just wondering whether that could be an excuse. Which one have I been using over there? That one on here. So we build the picture by using little bits of the same threads, also on different areas. I got some of my most favourite hand cream today that I was nearly worn out of, and so I bought 2 because I am always losing that thing. And at the workshop, a lot of ladies were saying, do you know that they say you stitch better if you've got hand cream on your hands? Have you heard of that? I'd never thought about it, but hey, that's a good reason, an added reason to buy hand cream to help our stitching. I always buy hand cream that smells really yummy. Well, I don't usually buy it, but as I said, I've used, you know, they're the things you get for presents, aren't they? The whole time you're growing up. And it's only lately that I wake up and I think, oh, my hands really need the cream. So anyway, long story short, I bought myself hand cream, which is number 1, a celebration, and I bought 2 because I could have one here in the nest and one in my handbag, and before you know it, I won't know where either of them are. But I thought, okay, that's an investment in you feeling good and smelling nice. So let's do it. I'm going to stop this video pretty soon because it's just getting darker and darker, and I feel my body is quite tired. But it loves the stitching. So this is where I have to fight myself, and do you? Like, I have to say, that's enough, Kate, for now. There's that little bit. So just added that gold in to the top, and logically, even though it's not the same colour, I feel that my needle needs to come down here. So let's start this as I start to say goodbye and to wish you a beautiful week ahead. And for some of you, it might be an anxious week ahead or something very big. And we can't control much that is beyond our control. But I do know that if that's you, please know that everyone here feels like they'd like to help and would be saying if you can get some stitching in. I'm thinking doctor's appointments, I'm thinking surgeries, I think of moving away or leaving families or flying. Some of us are anxious about flying. Like, is there anything that stitching cannot help or cure? It's getting a bit philosophic, but I am thinking, Corinne, I am thinking of you. I know you've lost your beloved cat, who many of us have watched for years and years, and I know you adored. You've only released that. So maybe that's a place where I can start. We want to send you, it doesn't matter how long it's been. So that's from me. And I know you will have heard it from lots of others already. But there we go, my friends. Let's finish off. With that little area. Oh gosh, I've got this. Yeah, I won't move it because you watch. Look at that. We've got some gold with the fluoro. We've got some, what else did we do? Some orange with the white. We've got some colouring in, and up here, did we do that tonight? I can't remember. But I've been pruning in your company, and I feel the better for it. So thanks for being here, and I will see you again next time. Please take care, look after yourself, and when times get tough, get that needle out. Bye.